Let's jam a little on psychological safety. I hear from leaders all the time who will say, Lucy, I understand that psychological safety is important for me to build on my team, but I have no idea how I'm supposed to do that. And so I thought it would be helpful to share some ways that have been seen in the research to be most effective, but more importantly, have been seen on teams in high pressure situations really build healthy, incredible psychological safety. And you might be wondering, like, who really cares? Why do we even care about psychological safety? Like, shouldn't that just, we're all adults and shouldn't we just feel safe? The reality is, no, it's not always safe when we have leaders who don't have the behaviors that can create that safety. And just in case you're wondering, like, well, what does it really matter anyway? Here's a few things. So, what we see on teams who have high levels of psychological safety, we see that they make better decisions when they feel safe to process and have ideas that they can put out on the table and really get creative and innovate with each other. We also see that psychological safety is linked to better mental health and overall well-being for employees, which healthy employees often will lead to healthy bottom line and healthy culture in your organization. And then we also see that there's an enhanced team innovation that goes along with that better decision making, that they're able to propose new innovative ideas and solutions, where before in teams that are not psychologically safe, they'll hold on to their very best ideas. We also see that there's an improved learning and development. So it creates an atmosphere where team members feel comfortable learning. Learning is a vulnerable process. So without that safety, we don't feel like we can go and learn and ask questions and get into things where maybe the answer is, I don't know. And so learning happens a lot more here, which then, of course, leads you to better outcomes, better decisions. And we also see higher employee retention. So teams that have higher levels of psychological safety, we don't have as much turnover and churn on those teams. We see lower conflict management issues because teams that have high psychological safety typically can handle conflict constructively on the teams because there's already set rules around how we treat each other and how we behave. And we also, and I think this is really important when we're thinking about what it is we're there to do, no matter what your business is, that research shows us that there's a really strong correlation between psychological safety and the overall performance of the entire team. So those leaders who are bringing psychological safety to the team then get the return from their team of high levels of performance. And not just that they're performing more, but that the quality of that performance is much higher. So just some things that I thought would be of interest for you to learn about, like, why do we even care about psychological safety? But then the other thing is like, okay, well, great. What's really the big idea here? It's that courageous action is what your psychological safety is built on. So your leaders have to be willing to take that courageous action to build that psychological safety and get into their own place of learning, where we look at how do we turn what we know, I know psychological safety is important, into what we do. So how do I actually create that on my team? And so I thought I would share with you 10 ways that you can create psychological safety and really take action on your team and start to build psychological safety in a way that can help you to achieve all of those things and really create great places for people to work where they can have even more success and ideas that can really help them to problem solve and bring their very best to work. So number one is model the desired behavior. Whatever it is that you're wanting, it starts with you as the leader. So show your team what it is that you want to see. Two, Facilitate inclusive team discussion. And what I mean by that is that if you have somebody sitting at the table and they're really quiet, then how can we invite their ideas to the table and really start to learn what is it that everybody has to contribute? Because sometimes our folks who observe what's going on really are sitting and thinking and processing some pretty cool ideas, and we want to be able to draw that out. Number 3, listen actively with the intent to understand. This is one we hear all the time, but I would say that when I'm working with leaders, I find that this is one that people can really be challenged with as leaders, because the belief is that you're the one who holds all the answers, but you're not. And if you are, there's something fundamentally wrong with the way that we're hiring and putting people on the team, because we really want to be surrounded by people who are experts in their own rights. So actively listening to what it is that they have to share with us, instead of actively listening for the purpose of responding with whatever it is we want to share. So just have the idea that your whole purpose of listening to them is just to understand, can really help you to create psychological safety, because people feel seen and heard and valued when you are listening from that place. Number 4, constructive feedback. Provide it with courage, clarity, and kindness, but also be willing to accept it and go and ask for it. And ask for it until they feel safe to give it to you. And then number 5, reinforce whatever those positive behaviors are to really help whatever change you're making, or whatever it is that you want to see, so that you can start building psychological safety. You have to reinforce it to make it stick. So it can't be a one-time thing. These practices are not one-time practices. Number 6 that you can really lean into, and I know this might sound like something that's silly, and you might automatically think that it's undervalued or that you undervalue it, but I would say it is highly desired on teams, and they feel incredibly respected when you take time to celebrate more than you correct. So you are catching people doing things right. It reinforces the behavior you want to see. So highly recommend, do not underestimate the power of celebrating more than you correct. Number 7, facilitate stay interviews. If you don't know what a stay interview is, these are the kinds of questions and opportunities where we're asking employees, what keeps you here? What makes you want to stay? What makes you want to leave? What is something you would want to change? What is the one thing in your job that if that changed, you might be looking for a new place to work? Just helps you to understand what is it that really lights them up, and what are the things that absolutely drive them crazy in their jobs. And then you can look for solutions to those kinds of things, and in optimizing the things that they're really excelling at, instead of asking these questions when they've packed their bags and they're going out the door. These help you retain your employees, and they help them to really feel like they're a part of the team. Number 8, reflect to understand how your behaviors impacted the team. One of the most powerful things you can do to create psychological safety on your teams is to look in the mirror, my friends. I'm sorry, I know that is not an easy thing to do. But when we see our very best leaders at the helm, these are the things that they're doing. They are looking in the mirror and really reflecting on, how are my behaviors impacting this team? And they're getting clear on where they need to make their own shifts. So when we can look and reflect on our own behaviors as a leader, there's power in that. Number 9, practice vulnerability. That means saying things like, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. Here's what I learned from that mistake. Here's what I'm going to do to correct it. And I'm going to need your help. That might mean saying, I don't know, but here's the way that we're going to find out and get the answer to that. Or it might be saying, this is really challenging. This is really difficult. And here's what I'm doing to move us forward. And here's my vision that I have for that. So it's really being clear that you don't have all the answers either. And you're human so that they can show up and be human instead of wanting to hide parts of whatever is going on for them. Because when we put on kind of the perfect show as leaders, our employees want to mirror that back to us. So we want to really reflect to them that humanness is humanness, and we show up human, they show up human. And that doesn't mean that we're not taking accountability and responsibility, but instead it means that we're able to own it and move forward together. And then number 10, invest in personal development. If you go and read any of the works from the great leaders, you will hear them talking about investing in their own personal development. When we invest in our own personal development, one, it shows our employees that their investment in their own personal development is worthwhile, that we want them to always be in that place of growing and learning and becoming their optimized self, and that we value that so much that we are also doing that. And so it's always creating this place of learning and growth on your teams. Okay, I hope you found this valuable. And leadership is such an incredible, courageous adventure that I hope you're enjoying. If there's something I can help you with, put it in the comments. I want to know what it is. And I want you to know you've got this.